Hi everyone. So I am here with Todd Gantzer, sorry,
No
President of the
worries.
Greater Boston Philatelic Society. Virtual Stampex, we ran a competition to see if anyone would like to win the chance to host a Stampex talk in the auditorium, and we got so many entries. We were slightly inundated, and when we'd gone through all the entries, we actually chose Todd. And we chose Todd because we just thought it was going to be a great opportunity for us to hear about his experience with the Greater Boston Philatelic Society, but also get some insight for other people as well, so he can share his experience and hopefully it will be beneficial to others. So we really hope you enjoy this presentation. Congratulations, Todd, for winning. Thank you so
Thank you.
much
Thank
for
you.
joining us here. Todd is going to be taking questions at the end of the session. So if you want to, you can either raise your hand or tap them in the Q&A. Great. And I'll hand over to Todd. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. At least it's morning for me. Good afternoon to probably most of you. I hope everybody's doing well today. I'm currently in a conference room at the Philatelic show in Boxborough, Massachusetts. So kind of double tasking this weekend. I wanted to talk today about modernizing or starting a new stamp club. Remarkably, they're almost the same thing right now. So my personal journey began probably 2 years before the pandemic hit, and I started collecting. I went looking for a club and could not find anything. Now, I know there's clubs in my area, but I wasn't able to find any of them online. And that was the only way I knew how to search for them. So I struggled for weeks to find a club that was still active and still had members that were responding to emails, and finally found the Boston Philatelic Society. It was the oldest philatelic society in the United States at the time. It was completely inactive except for one member. I worked with him for a while and told him I would be willing to try to help find a site to meet, bring in some new people, and get the club going again. Once we started going, the inactive members decided they were going to fold the club rather than evolve into a hybrid club that relied on social media and websites and everything else. At that time, I had a core group of members who were still interested in continuing, so we formed the Greater Boston Philatelic Society and started from there. The mission of the Greater Boston Philatelic Society is actually to democratize philately. One of the most intimidating things about some of these clubs are the rules to get in. So you have to be voted into the club. This is after you've already paid your dues. You have to present to the club before you can become a member. And for new people joining the hobby, that's a lot. That's a lot to ask, and it's a lot for them to kind of get their head around. Now, I know not all clubs are like this, and a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is more centered on the Northeast of the US. This is kind of where I'm based, and these are the clubs that I have the most experience with. But I think a lot of stamp clubs, especially when you start reading the bylaws, are closer to private men's clubs. And I think we're kind of past that. We're at a point now where everybody who wants to collect should be welcome. We've all had that experience, I'm sure, especially if you started collecting in the past 5 or 10 years, where you've gone into a club, maybe you're collecting topically and you just started out and you kind of get dismissed a little bit. You know, you're not collecting the classic era, you're not collecting a particular country, you're not counting perfects on all your stamps, then maybe you're not a real philatelist. And that just kind of drives people away. We need to be more inclusive. We need to meet people where they are, not where they think they should be. So if you've got a younger collector or a newer collector who's coming in and they're collecting butterflies on stamps, that's a perfectly good collection. It's still collecting philately. It's still keeping the hobby alive. It just might not be what a lot of people see as traditional. And that's fine. We need to accept that and meet them where they are. We also need to drive diversity. Philately, at least in the Northeast, and from what I've seen when I go to Stampex, is not a very diverse place. And that makes it hard for people to come in who are on the diversity scale when they don't see anybody who looks like them, when they don't have the shared experiences. And we miss out so much on that because we don't have their viewpoint. We don't have their passion for the hobby just because they're not the same as everyone else. If you're going to start a club, or if you're going to revamp your club, you need to have officers. This is one of the things I learned when we were starting ours. Keep it simple. Keep everything you can simple. President, treasurer, secretary, that'll be enough to get started. You're not going to really need much more than that. And some of those people can pull double duty. Right now, I have a treasurer, but I'm kind of the president's secretary. We're not farming all that stuff out. We just don't have enough people who have enough time to do it. You can always add officers as your club grows, especially youth directors. If you start getting younger people more interested, you can have somebody set up specifically to deal with that area of the club. I'm going to stress this over and over again. Keep it simple. One of the things that I had the most trouble with when I was starting GBPS was the bylaws. They were 5 pages of exclusionary language and rules. Modern clubs and younger collectors, they don't want that. If I'm paying you $20 to join your meetings, that should be enough. That really should be all there is to it. There are templates available in the United States from the APS and from Great Britain in the APBS. I'm sure there are more. Those are the only 2 I'm aware of. Use the templates to get started, but what I did is I used that template and then I stripped out a whole lot. Don't add a rule about voting in members. For some reason, this is a personal thing of mine. The idea of having to be voted into a club just screams exclusion. And I'm trying to kind of do away with it in my own little world. Dues. It sounds mercenary, but start collecting as soon as you can. If you want to accomplish your goals, you're going to need to be able to pay for technology. You're going to need to be able to pay for a site to meet. You're going to need funds. And unless you have members who have deep pockets who just want to front things, you're going to need to have a budget. So as much as it sounds like you're getting ahead of yourself, I would start collecting dues as soon as possible. Get the word out. Register every place you can. If there is a website out there that has a list of stamp clubs, find out how to get on it and get on it. Register with the American Philatelic Society and get your charter if you're here in the US. One of the nice things about the APS is that if you start a club and was it 70%, maybe I can double check the numbers if somebody's really interested, but if you have a certain percentage of members of your club who are APS members, you don't have to pay for your charter. You get a free charter. And as long as you maintain that level of APS members within your club, you have your charter. The ABPS, I don't know what the requirements are, but get registered with them as well. Attend and participate in any stamp show that'll have you. That's what I'm doing this weekend. I am literally sitting at a table in a stamp club, in a stamp show, answering questions for people, letting them know that we exist, how to get in touch with us, how to find us, what we're about, and just letting people know we're here. Make yourself easy to find. This was the big one for me when I started collecting. A lot of the clubs in my area did not have an online presence at all. Now, I'm not terribly young, but I'm young enough that the first place I go looking for information is the internet. And there was just nothing there. What was there was deeply out of date. I would send emails off and not hear back from anybody and find out later that that member was gone or that member had passed and nobody had updated the website. Build a website, keep it simple, keep the links up to date, and respond. One of the biggest challenges that I personally found was I would wait weeks for somebody to email me back. Now, a few days, fine. But if it's 3 weeks after I sent you an email and you're now just getting around to telling me that the club either is meeting or isn't, that doesn't show a lot of interest from either side. So if somebody takes the time to reach out to you, take the time to respond. It doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to be in depth, but reach back out. A lot of club websites that do exist right now are cluttered. They're a little older in design. Keep it simple. You don't need a ton of information up there. They need to know how to reach you, where you meet, when you meet, and then you can start layering in pages with white papers from your club, photos of stamps, videos from your club meetings, all sorts of things like that. But in the beginning, you really just need something. So if they type in Philatelic in Greater Boston, your name is going to pop up along with your contact information. I have an email address on our website that is on all of our material. So it's one-stop shopping for people. If they need to contact us, they send something to that email. I get it on my phone, I get it on my computer, and I usually respond in less than 24 hours. Granted, I work in tech, so I'm on it all day, but it's not that hard. Post links to other clubs and Philatelic resources on your site. Make your site a resource for people. So if once they find you, if they want to find more information, they can go to your site and use that to find information. It's just kind of a nice way of bringing more people in, because then if they meet somebody who needs to know something, they're like, oh, I'm not really sure where that is, but hit up this site, they have the links. At the end there, I'm going to go through some other resources like that, especially Digital Philatelist, who I'm sure a lot of us know, has a ton of online resources. And once I discovered him, I use that heavily when starting the new club. Diversity statement. So my club and my website has a diversity statement. It does not need to be a huge in-depth statement, but the fact that you are thinking about it will put you ahead of some of the other sites. It will put you ahead in some of the other sites in the terms of younger viewers who want that diversity, who this is a top concern for them. And just the fact that you are actually addressing it and taking it head on will matter to people. So I recommend you get something out there and live to it. Meetings. So I think a lot of us are doing hybrid meetings now, where you have an in-person meeting and then you have a online component for people who can't go. It is important. I don't think it's ever going to go away at this point. A lot of young collectors are not going to go hang out in a church basement, but they will log into a meeting online. Maybe not every meeting, but they will log in. And one of the things that I've found in my area is some of the older members are not comfortable traveling in the dark to come to a meeting. Our meetings are from 7 to 9, and they don't want to drive at that time. So what we've done is I'll help them get set up with a webcam or their phone, and they can log in that way. And this way you don't lose all that phenomenal knowledge from more experienced collectors just because they don't want to travel. They can still be involved, they can still give presentations, they can still teach the newer people, but they don't have to worry about driving at 10 o'clock at night to get home. It also makes it easier to record your content, which you can later post either to YouTube or to your site, and people who weren't able to attend can go and view that. And it also helps somebody who's looking for a club, because they can go see the kind of things you're talking about and listen to these things and then decide whether or not they want to come join you. Investing in decent tech. So I'm in the tech field. So this was an easy one for me because I had the toys to do it. But if you're going to do hybrid meetings, they've got to at least be viewable and hearable. A professional Zoom account or any of the other large Teams accounts, anything like that, will give you more options than the free versions. They also give you a longer time frame, so I do recommend that. Get a good webcam. That is key. One of the first things that we had as feedback when we started running our meetings before I actually got our webcam was that everybody was, a quarter of an inch tall in the room and nobody could really tell who was talking. We've shifted technology and made that a lot better, but it matters. People want to be able to see face to face. That's the whole point of joining a club. Get a good speaker and microphone set up. If they can't hear the meeting, they're going to tune out. You know, if you've got a recording of the meeting and the sound is so muddy that nobody can understand what's happening, people aren't going to watch it, then they're not going to come to your meetings. So invest in that stuff. And if you can't get your members to put their presentations for the club meetings into a presentation format, invest in a document camera, which is about $100, or a tripod with a phone or something, so you can do an overhead view, just like the old time overhead projectors, of what people are presenting. This way, you're not trying to do this. You're not holding, you know, the stamp up to the camera and trying to let people see it while it bobbles around on the screen. You can actually point it straight down at the table and people can see what people are showing in the room at the same time everybody else is. Encourage your members to use PowerPoint though. We've done both at our club. Our last meeting was one of our members, Frank Slack, was talking about his experience being first-time exhibitor. It was an absolutely fascinating talk, especially if you've never exhibited before, because he made it much more approachable than I thought it would have been. But he did the whole thing through PowerPoint, and because of that, he was able to show details and impart more information than he would have been if he was just talking about what he was doing and handing around a couple of pages at the meeting. It really did get a lot more information out there. And if you actually watch the presentation on our YouTube site, we had a little sound issue, but other than that, the material is all there and it's all very legible. It's something I would definitely encourage people. PowerPoint, Keynote, there are several presentation programs. It doesn't really matter which one you use. Social media. So this is the big one. I know there's a lot of speakers in Stampex this year who are from the social media world, which is phenomenal, but it's not really optional anymore. If you want to get your name out, it is required. It's not hard. It's not a lot of work. And once you get your channels up and running, it's not hard to maintain. I've talked about the web page, something simple, something easy to maintain, something that people can use as a resource and use to find you. Keep the links current. That's probably the most important thing. If you put an email up there, the email needs to go to somebody. If you put a link to another site, that other site has to be there. If you start linking to a bunch of dead sites, again, people are going to stop using your resource. YouTube, you know, what can I say? YouTube has been groundbreaking for philately online, in my opinion. There are so many good channels out there of philatelic content, and you can be a part of that. If you're doing your meetings in a hybrid environment through Zoom, when you get past your business portion of the meeting and you've done your bourse, and you're ready for the philatelic presentation, hit record. Record that presentation and post it. You've got that resource again. So one, if your members need to go back and refer to it, it's there, but it'll also allow other people to see what's happening. We also have a Facebook group. We're a little bit of an overachiever in the social media space. We have a Facebook group that has more members than our club. It's open to anyone. It lets people know where we are, but it also provides a place where people who maybe don't want to join but still need information can go and find us. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. It's funny. Twitter and Instagram have been pretty standard recently, and you know, we're fairly active on both Twitter and Instagram. When I started looking for a club, the first place I went was Twitter. I started doing searches on philately in Boston, philately in New England, you know, stamp collecting in New England. And at the time, I got nothing at all in our area trying to do a search that way. And I know through my job and through, you know, some of my friends who are younger, that's the first place they're looking to see who's out there, who's active, who's talking. Because you can have a website that gets stale But your Twitter account, if you've got a bunch of posts, people know you're actually doing something, you're actually involved, you're talking about it, you're being part of the community, and you're trying to build community. And it helps a lot. It has guided a lot of people to us. The same with Instagram. It's also just a really fun way to kind of share what you have. So you get your members to provide you with some photos, you post it up there. People who are looking at clubs can see the kind of things your club collects. TikTok is new, at least for me. We do have a presence on TikTok. It is strictly related to philately. We're posting stamps and stamp related material like shots from the show, things like that. It's amazing how many people in the philatelic world are up there. I mean, I couldn't give you a number, but I would bet there's hundreds of TikTok creators who are posting information on philately. Anything from fuzzy pictures of stamps to very well done videos on collecting and storing and things like that. It's a very big resource and it's easy. The thing I want to stress with social media, it's not hard. It's really not hard. All these resources are free. You don't have to pay to use any of them. All you need to do is post pictures. Our Instagram channel, all we post on it are pictures of stamps. Literally, that's it. And we've got over 1,000 people following the channel because people want to look at pictures of stamps. So that will help bring people in because they see that you're putting stuff up on a regular basis. The club is obviously active, so they come looking for you. It's also a great way to meet people in other areas. I've met several people through collecting in the online world who are in Singapore, Korea, Great Britain. And, you know, if you ever travel in that area, you know, you can get a pretty good dinner out of it, but you can also get resources that way. They'll help you find things that maybe you couldn't find on your own, and they'll help your members do the same. So if you want to be found, I firmly believe that it is necessary now more than it is a nice to have. You need to kind of lean into it, and it's free. There are tons of online resources. This is a very small batch of them. And again, I will apologize. This is leaning very strongly in the US area, mostly because that's where I am. But Digital Philatelist, more information than you can consume in a lifetime. I mean, there's just tons of things there for you to find out. He will list any of the clubs who want to be listed, and you know, you can use it to find whatever you want. For us here in the States, we have the American Topical Association. Here in the Northeast, we have the Northeastern Federation of Stamp Clubs, who are the folks hosting the stamp show I'm at right now. And they all have online resources. What they don't have, and what no one has, is online resources on how to actually build a club digitally, how to establish your footprint. And that's hopefully some things we'll get to in the Q&A, because that's where I think the real importance of this lies, is getting the word out that there are ways to do this. There are people who have done it. There are people who you can reach out to, you know, and who will help you actually get up. When I first started building my website, I actually ran the website by Digi. I ran the website past Grant from Exploring Stamps, going, okay, how does this look? Does this look like it's clean? Is it good? Is it modern? You know, and obviously they're not going to come back and tell me I'm an idiot and it's awful, but they pointed out a few things that we were able to fix and make it look a little bit better. But there are people who are willing to help. So there is a community, and it is out there. You just have to kind of look for it. And that's it for the presentation. How'd I do in time?
Thank you so much, Todd. That was brilliant. So I can see we've got several people here. You can either, if you just raise your hand or put a Q&A in, a question in, then we can see that if anyone wants to ask Todd anything. It's a great opportunity. I know that there's I can see that Julian's here, and I spoke to Julian yesterday, and he was asking about tips for Facebook. I don't suppose there's any tips that you've got for Facebook, Todd, at all.
As far as getting a club set up on Facebook.
Yeah, I suppose that would be, yeah, a club set up on Facebook, and also like targeting different age groups.
Targeting age groups is tough. Facebook in and of itself, if you're leaning that way, you are targeting a certain age group. You're targeting a slightly older demographic than TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, which is fine because that's necessary. When we built our Facebook group, I put it up and left it public, so it's not a private group. Anyone can join. You don't have to be a member of the club to join. We don't have confidential information up there, but excuse me, it gives people a place to go and ask questions in a long format that is comfortable for them. What I've discovered personally is that the more detail you get into in your posts, so if you're targeting younger collectors, either younger in the hobby or younger by age, don't get too deep in the weeds on color variations, preparation variations, things like that. Have the material there, especially if that's your interest. I'm not saying don't post your interest, but have the material there. But if you want to attract the more newer user, it go a little bit lighter, something that they can digest. And that way they're not going to start reading through how to gauge perfins on United States stamps and kind of go right over their head. But stick with something a little bit simpler and use that as a way to bring them in. And then you can always have the resources available for the more in-depth studies, especially if your folks are putting together papers on it, then you definitely want to get that out there because more sophisticated collectors are going to want to read that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Thank you.
We've got lots of pictures, lots of pictures of stamps.
Yeah, pictures are great, aren't they?
Yeah.
So we've got loads more questions. John Simper has asked, why do you think old school societies are so afraid to embrace the online philatelic community?
No one likes change. I mean, I think there are, and I'm gonna say this, but understand, I think it's a small segment, but I do think there is a segment of the community who wants it to be exclusive, who wants to be part of that exclusive club. That's fine. There is a place for invite only clubs. When you get to a certain level of collecting, there is a place for that. But I believe that a lot of them either don't know how to change. I think that's the biggest problem, is if you have a club that's been in existence for 50 years and maybe the members are a little bit on the older side, they don't know how to do this and they don't know who to talk to ask. And I think being that resource that somebody can actually pop an email off to, make a phone call to, and go, yeah, we're trying to put up a Facebook group and I have no idea how to do this. There's got to be resources out there for them to look at and do it. And I think that really is the bigger problem. They don't know how. It's not so much that they don't want to, but they don't know how.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. John, I hope that answers your question. Paul has asked, would you have an idea on how much engagement you have by type of media, Facebook, TikTok, Insta, etc.? What's your best funnel to get new members?
So the turnover, so you're talking about conversion rates, basically. So when I started doing this, as I said, I work for an online company. So I started looking at this as I am marketing my product to the masses. My product just happens to be philately. Conversion rates are tough. We have had, I think, the most people join the club through Facebook, because I think that's where more of the clubs are located. So a lot of people who are looking for clubs hit Facebook first. So more people have jumped in through that. I've had more people offer assistance and advice and ask the same of me through Twitter. That's probably the most interactive format, is people in the Twitter sphere. That's where the conversations are happening. That's where people are talking about these things. So that's been the most useful in that way. Members, straight up members, probably Facebook. TikTok, it's fun. I don't know what the conversion rate is looking at like for that. Our TikTok account is not hard coded to lead people back to the website. So it's just more of a fun showing stamps thing. Everything else leads people back to our website, which has an online membership form, and we kind of go from there.
Brilliant, thank you. And we're just going to skip to a Facebook question. Actually, Julian asks, is there a trick to making your Facebook group more widely known? And he's put, we have a website with a link to it.
That's ideal. Yeah, I mean, when I first started doing this, the one piece of advice I was given by someone in the Twitter sphere was everything you do should lead to your website. So if you have a Facebook group, it should be linked to your website. If you have a Twitter account, the website link should be there. Everything should lead back to that. I took that and tweaked it a little bit, because I update the website after every meeting. If we change something, I update it fairly frequently. I'll be going in this weekend actually to update it to remove the show I'm currently attending from the website links, because it's over. I think that, sorry, give me that question one more time. I lost the train of thought.
Is there a trick to making your Facebook?
Is there a trick? Yeah, make it public. That's probably the big one, is make it public, and make sure that you have keywords in your description that will actually return. So if I'm searching Facebook for stamp collecting instead of philately, make sure you've got stamp collecting on your page, because then your page will return. Private groups, it's kind of up to you. If you're using your Facebook group as your communication method within your group, within your society, then maybe it needs to be private, because there's going to be information up there you don't necessarily want to get out. But if you're just using it as a way to reach people, keep the group public. Make sure you're moderating it so you don't get a bunch of people posting things you don't want, but it just keep it public and get as many keywords in there around stamp collecting, philately, stamps, collections, local area. So, Boston, Leicester, wherever you are, make sure that that's included in there as well, so that the search will return it.
That's actually, it was a really good tip. So I've got two, we've got several more questions, but two from Suzanne Ray, the PTS. She's just put, this is a fantastic topic. Does Todd have any ideas on how we might help societies see this content when they are not on social media already, and we don't have an email address for them to include them in our newsletter? Has he proactively reached out to any societies via old methods like letter, telephoning, meeting folks at stamp shows?
So I've this is kind of my own personal little crusade. So I've got a lot of ideas on this, but the reason I'm at the show this weekend, other than to get the name of the club out, is to talk to the other member clubs who are here and let them know that if they want help, I will help them. I spoke to the people running the show recently, because I realized I was posting to Instagram a video. I did a quick walkthrough of the show. It's not phenomenal, but it shows a whole bunch of dealers, a whole bunch of activity, and a long line of exhibits. And I wanted to tag the show. The show didn't even have a tag. There was nothing there. So I approached the people and said, hey, look, next year, if you want some help with this, let me know, and I'll help you out. So there's a lot of that, meeting them at shows. I think if you are in a position that you can influence your local version of the American Philatelic Society, so the local place where all clubs register, I think that's where it's got to start. I think the information has got to be there somehow. I would love to see the registering societies for stamp clubs and societies be that digital resource. You know, they go there, hey, I'm starting a new club in Worcester. How do I do this? Well, here you go. This is, you know, an example of your bylaws. Here's the kind of technology we recommend. This is how to do an online meeting. You know, here's how to set up your social media, and here's some resources you can reach out to if you run into trouble. I think that's where it's got to start for the clubs who aren't online already, unless you can go to door to door. I found phone doesn't work very well. They're like, who the hell are you? Why are you calling me? You know, it's like they don't want to change.
Yeah.
But if you actually have the governing body, governing is a harsh word, but the governing body of the clubs offering that information, then it becomes real to them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting one, isn't it? Suzanne also asked,
It's tough.
Sorry?
It's tough. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not
really
easy.
tough. I mean, how do you like connect with people? Yeah. Suzanne also asks, a lot of clubs, and then she's put in brackets, I hear, have some money in a bank account. Do you think they would purchase a service like online setup and could pay a subscription fee for ongoing support maintenance if a company was to provide this specific to philately?
I think that is a brilliant idea, personally.
Yeah.
I think that you would have to keep the price low. Well, you could obviously tier it like any other business, but I think if you're just starting out, so if you're just building a club, you've got no money. So maybe a sliding scale where you can start out with just your website. And then once you get more members, you can kind of tier on support from that. But that was something I actually suggested to APS a while ago. And it was a very ad hoc conversation, but I wanted them to be the hub for this sort of thing, where somebody could even go to the point of using their conferencing resources. So you have club meetings, you log into their conferencing to hold, so you don't have to spend the $150 a year for Zoom Professional. But I think if you can keep the price reasonable, I think people would. I mean, especially if you can prove to them that you're going to get more members, because that's what it's all about, is driving in membership.
Yeah, it's really, really true. So Paul, who asked a question earlier, he says, by the way, our club, the American Helvetica Philatelic Society, is having a working session this afternoon at Pipex show in Portland, Oregon.
Awesome.
Modernization of our club to better contribute to the philatelic world.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. I mean, showing more examples of that and success stories and demystifying it for people, I think, is phenomenal. The more people we have doing that, the better. I think it's brilliant.
He also says, any ideas on how to use Chat GPT to repurpose the club's content and even post into an active media calendar for Facebook, Twitter, etc.?
Short answer, no. I don't have enough knowledge on the topic right now.
Yeah.
Give me 3 months, because we're actually looking into it at work, and I'm going to obviously get a little bit deeper into it that way. I know I've seen some Twitter exchanges on people using ChatGPT to script presentations on Philately. And from what I've seen, it is decent for a first draft, but you got to proofread it. It's not going to come out perfect because it doesn't have all the information yet. Yeah. Obviously, it's going to get better as it goes. But no, I don't have a lot on that one yet.
Yeah, I know that Suzanne last night, she did a thing on AI in the roundtable section, and I think it was quite well received and an interesting topic of conversation. She's just put that she's going to post some insights from it online, but maybe Todd, in 3 months when you've also
because we're talking about it
more,
at work,
you can come back.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've now darted all over the questions. Paul, I hope that helps. Suzanne has then said the ABPS would be the organisation to assist UK societies. I suggested to Scott English this morning that the APS creates a toolkit. I would suggest the same to the ABPS. So that was, sorry, based on the last chat. We're all over the shop. And that's basically all the questions. Unless anyone's got any other questions that they would like to ask. But it's fascinating, isn't it? Really, I mean, how to get people engaged.
There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot out there. I love the idea of marketing to the philatelic clubs. I'm doing it for free right now, which is questionable. But it's an interesting area because you don't want to really change the club structure. You just want to make it more accessible.
Yeah.
We still want that face-to-face. We still want to go meet people. And this part of it, the technology part of it, just helps that when you can't get there. I attended a club meeting when I was on vacation because I could. It was like I could just log in and spend an hour chatting and then go back to my vacation. If we didn't have this, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah. We've got one more question, sorry.
Sure. No worries.
Any thought about going fully to a no membership club, no dues, no membership forms, etc.?
Oh, yes.
And you're part of the club. Money is the question, of course, but I wonder how we can make the joining frictionless.
That is what I want. That is my personal end game, is to not be charging dues, to just going to, if you want to join, you join. That is what I want for stamp clubs. Like I said, this is kind of my own little personal crusade. The problem is there's no resources for a club to access technology without paying for it right now. So you need to bring in money to pay for that. And even if I took it to the extremis with the ABPS or the APS and said, okay, they're going to provide every new club a camera and a Zoom account so that you can do your own thing and you don't have to buy it. That would be wonderful, but the club still has to pay the membership dues to them because they need the money to buy the hardware. So somewhere there's got to be money involved somewhere. I was talking to several people at the show yesterday, and I told them at that point, if I didn't have to charge membership fees, I wouldn't be. I think that in and of itself can be exclusionary. I mean, $20 a year is not a ton of money, but for people who maybe are going to dip in and out, it's still like, do I really want to pay this? I would not be charging if we didn't need the money to upkeep the site. Do the technology. We have to pay for a place to meet. Not a lot, but we do pay. We have to pay for the technology. It's like there are expenses. You want to go to a show, you got to pay for a table.
I'm interested in about the membership and payment side of things. How did you, when you relaunched the society, how did you decide how much you were going to charge?
I looked at what they were charging, which was really small. And yeah. I kind of thought about what I would have paid. We're doing meetings once a month, so we're not doing 3-4 meetings a month. Mm-hmm. So I didn't feel good charging a lot, but we still needed to bring in enough money to pay for what we needed to pay for. So it was just kind of okay, $20 a year is a reasonable amount. Most people could pay that without having an issue. And it will give us enough with membership to actually pay for the site. We were originally going to pay for our listing in APS before we realized how many members we had that were actually members of the APS. So we had some things we needed to buy, and we wanted to use the money for that. So we tried to keep it as small as possible. Like I said, if I could, I wouldn't be charging. Yeah. If I could figure out a way to do that, I would do that tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Paul just says, thank you so much for a great session. Helpful and timely for our club. I'll look for your future thoughts. Happy to share ours from AHPS as we progress. It's great.
Awesome. Love to hear more.
Great. And yeah, I think that's it. Should we wrap up? Thank you so much, Todd. I will let you go and have a great day at the show.
Thank you. Have a great
Thank
time,
you.
and I'll see you in London.
Perfect. Yeah, no, great. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Don't forget to head back into Virtual Stampex, have a look at those PTS members, go to the booth hall, have a chat, check out those roundtables. We've got lots and lots of things coming up. We've got a youth meetup. We've got Suzanne Ray from Art Stamp. She's going to be bringing you glue, doing some art attack there, and lots of other things. And I hope everyone has a great show. Thank you so much, Todd. I'll see
Thank
you
you.
later. Cheers.
Bye now.
Bye.